So thank you to be with me. I want just to discuss with you a bit, how do you see the importance of sovereignty growing across the world now?
So it's really quite timely that you asked that question, Xavier, because right now, in 2025, we're seeing quite a significant shift in governments across the world, how they look at data and the importance of data, and how they're looking at data from a sovereignty perspective, because obviously, probably since the inception of cloud services back in 2014 with Microsoft and AWS, in their current iteration with Azure and AWS, and obviously Google fast approaching in their capability. A lot of organizations globally, both government and commercial, were quick to adopt cloud strategy and move a lot of their data and workloads into cloud services. Now, a lot of countries are now sitting back thinking, hold on a minute, we're 10 years in, and there's so much data now hosted by predominantly US hyperscalers, and lots of very sensitive information are now held by US hyperscalers, and governments, both UK, I would imagine French, German, Spanish, Italian, and so forth, are all looking at this as, how do we repatriate some of that important data? How do we wrestle back control of our data? I'd be interested to know what HPE see in this market shift, and how HPE are going to respond to that and support their partners globally.
Well, we absolutely know that the market is moving at a very high speed to quote-unquote sovereignty. What I quote sovereignty is trust on sovereignty also, because it's all a matter of an end-to-end trust in different topics, not only where the data are located, but who is operating the data, in which data centers, and at the end of the day, even the nationality of the people operating the data. And if a service provider is operating the data, what is the equity of the service provider? Is it from your country or your region, or from another region? Because all of that is very linked together for the highest level of trust on sovereignty. So we see that happening. I believe, as you say, that data is the foundation. What we have seen in the past years in Europe, but it is also valid for the rest of the world, a lot of countries have given their data for free everywhere. And as we know today, probably more than 80% of the new products or services that we will build on the market and that we will consume will be digitally enabled, meaning that all data that we have given for free to other countries or will come back as products that we will purchase to them. So there is a big issue. It was very well demonstrated in the Draghi report that was published last year, at the end of last year. So we see that there is a need to care about the data and how data will influence the GDP of our countries. Reason why I believe that the governments are paying attention to that. It is not only governments, to be very open. I see a lot also coming from what is called sensitive industries. We may speak about healthcare, we may speak about energy. Of course, defense is a very, very hot topic, but also FSI market, financial, insurance markets. So all the private sector now is also looking at it, because the data they produce sometimes needs to stay where it is produced or not to exit the thing. So these are the big trends we see on the market. So of course, all of that has been starting, people have started to think about it during the COVID, because it's all about supply chain.
Yeah,
it's all about supply chain. And here we speak about digital sovereignty. So we speak about data, but it is the same in a lot of areas, from product perspective, component perspective, or not only in the IT, everywhere. So the COVID pandemic has made the people realize that we could miss of something if we do not master, and if we do not control, and if we do not ensure that we can have the goods or the pieces that are needed just to live. And since today everything is digital. Every process runs digitally. It is becoming even more critical. And of course, we have seen in the past 3 years a lot of geopolitical tensions across the world that are certainly also pushing the bar on this topic.
Yeah.
And naturally, the public sector, but also the private sector and the citizens, at one point of time, realized that trust and sovereignty matters a lot for just moving on and living and increasing the GDPs of our regions. I had a question for you about to support what we discussed on sovereignty. How do you see regulation supporting this trend?
So it's interesting. So I think picking on some of the things that you just mentioned about geopolitical tensions and the way that countries are trying to wrestle back, maybe slightly politically move away from this globalization conversation that had been going on for the last decade, is to understand that we do all have, each country has highly sensitive requirements. You touched on energy, you touched on health, but from our perspective, from a UK perspective, we are handling a lot of contracts for construction companies who are building significant capability for government and Ministry of Defence and other requirements. It could be health from a hospital perspective. All now have been pulled into critical national infrastructure sectors, of which there used to be 4, now there's 13 sectors. So it's actually brought in a lot more organisations and companies that may have not traditionally have thought about cybersecurity being so important, digital sovereignty and data sovereignty really key, and particularly supply chains for defence and construction and for the whole arena of delivering those C&I sectors. So what we are seeing from a regulatory perspective is really quite helpful, because often, sadly, being human, humans tend to not want to rush to do things that are maybe against making it easy for themselves. They're often looking for the easy route forward, maybe looking at profit first before looking at safety. So, regulatory compliance and governance imposed by governments changes behaviour, and I think that's what has been really missing, and which has been really quite important, seeing how we are winning more contracts as a result of organisations now having to comply to regulatory demands made upon them. Now, we saw that first with the financial services insurance market, because they were quick to adopt heavier regulatory compliance and governance frameworks. But we're now seeing that with the implementation of NIS2.
You are speaking about DORA.
Yeah, and DORA, which is an enhancement on previous regulatory frameworks, bringing in cybersecurity and digital resilience. And I think that kind of conversation is only just starting, whilst it's been in sort of preparation, and it's now being in full effect since January for DORA. We're now only starting to see organisations really look at this as a challenge, because, again, coming back to the hyperscaler conversation, many organisations rush to put their data in Microsoft Azure or AWS, and thinking that would cover all of their resilience conversation. And now all of a sudden, because there's been several key outages over the last year, 2 years, it's brought back into question, well, do we have all of our data operations run in one cloud environment? No, we need to look at alternative. And so that's brought the conversation back into this sovereignty capability of how do we make sure that should there be a significant outage in Microsoft or AWS, how do we respond to that? How do we support that kind of challenge? And how do we bring in other capabilities similar to METCLOUD and other providers to fulfill that resilience challenge?
Yeah. And we have seen what we have seen from a regulation perspective across Europe is a lot of evolution. So we see the cybersecurity schema driving the regulation in every single country in Europe, coming to common ideas. What I have seen on my side, not only from public sector, but also from private sector now. In the past 2 years, we had probably to face 20 to 25 very large RFPs, requests for proposals, that were asking the most stringent request from this cybersecurity schema. And ranging from, where are your data? Where are your data centers? What are the crypto capacity that you have put in place to encrypt your data? And also, who is managing your data? Who is managing your systems? Do you have remote control or not? Is it managed by you or you as a service provider? Or do you delegate to third parties outside your countries? And all of that has a lot of impacts on the full chain of trust.
Yeah.
And we see more and more requests for proposal coming from, and as I said, private sector and public sector, which are now including de facto, not saying I want to be EUCS or SecNumCloud or C5 or whatever, but putting the argument on the request of these frameworks inside the RFP by themselves. So this is very different from what we had seen in the past. But more precisely, we are in the UK today. So what is happening in the UK?
Yeah, good point. So again, I think from a UK perspective, I think we've been a little slow from a country perspective. I think since the domination of US hyperscalers, our own government has been, I guess, somewhat complicit in moving all of their data and reliance into Microsoft cloud services and Amazon and so forth. We are seeing a change, a wrestling back and pushing back on this. And that's been really quite positive from our perspective, because we as a company have been operating our sovereign capability now for some 5 years. And it's been a challenge trying to get traction and getting governmental support. We are starting to see that, and we're starting to see evidence of that where they are signposting departments and other government agencies and so forth and private organizations to adopt a sovereignty conversation. And I think that's been refreshing.
How do you see AI linked to all these topics?
So AI is on everyone's lips these days. Everyone's talking about AI. The markets are increasing significantly from an investment perspective. Everyone's interested in what can AI do for them, increasing productivity, insight, and so forth. That is just to us another extension of compute that we've been delivering for quite some time. You know, we've been harnessing, and not just us, but lots of companies have been harnessing next generation compute technologies via companies like Hewlett Packard Enterprise. AI is a step up from that. AI is adding greater capability, greater compute resources, greater capability, particularly around generative AI, with the invention of GPU technology from companies like NVIDIA. Obviously, there's Intel and AMD and a raft of other technology manufacturers looking at supplying generative AI compute capability. But we see it comes back to the same challenge: data sovereignty, data security. If you're developing advanced capabilities harnessing AI, where is that data? Who's looking at that data? Who has accessible support requirements for that data? And this is why we see this as a acceleration of sovereignty requirements, because when you're looking at training and developing AI, you need it to be highly secure. And it's certainly not a technology that you want to risk putting it into a public cloud environment. Who knows how that data then gets deployed and broadcast outside of your control. So that's where we see huge, significant step change in what we are talking about from a sovereignty capability. And I think the UK itself, the government, its announcements recently around the focus around AI for growth, AI for digital sovereignty, and a place at the table You know, our Prime Minister wants us to be an AI superpower and one that leads. So if that's the case, then we need to be able to have significant data center capability. We have to have data sovereignty capability. All of that is integrated, and that's what we want to see from a government, from a UK perspective.
And all companies like yours who are UK based and funded service providers to act on that and to drive this sovereignty for the best and for the good success for the many. I would add one thing that people do not always touch on, and which is very linked with AI, and this is something that I see coming a lot also. This is AI ethics, because you know that very well. We can do everything we want with AI, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. So what we have seen coming also across the world, by the way, governments publishing their AI acts. And this is all about not only where the data are, but what would you do with this data to do what? Yes, exactly, to really ensure that we use data for good, not for bad. And when I say for bad, sometimes we may use AI to generate things that we do not control, or which are not at the end controlled by a chain of controls. And what we have seen on this is in Europe, in the UK, in India, everywhere across the world, we have seen, in Saudi Arabia, I have seen that also, these AI acts being published in order to put a framework on what we can do or not do with AI, and with whom to play on AI according to what you want to do. So this is also coming. And this is pushed not only by the government, but by the people, simply by the people who start to understand that AI is a fantastic tool, certainly. But like every single fantastic tool, it needs to be mastered at one point of time. And we need not to let the tool decide what will be said to the people, but also use AI for what it can bring for goodness, and not for everything. So this is another trend that I have seen on the market. So when we discussed sovereignty, we discussed regulations a bit, we discussed AI. How does METCLOUD help the customers to address all these challenges today?
So from our perspective, we are 100% UK sovereignty focused. We have our systems residency, so everything is in the UK. We have our data centers in the UK. We partner with data center providers as well that are in the UK. So we have that location. We also have cybersecurity capability. So that's what really is.
Yeah, by the way, you have launched a fantastic AI-based software recently.
We have, and I'll definitely pick on that, because that's something that is really important in this sovereign conversation. So cybersecurity is absolutely core to this sovereignty conversation. It's about how do you protect the data, how do you control the data, how do you make sure that that data isn't leaked or isn't actually, somehow stolen from other countries or other nation states or other malicious activity and so forth. So security of that data is absolute paramount. And then obviously you have then the requirement for us from a UK perspective. We have UK nationals who have had to go through security clearance. So we can demonstrate that from start to finish, it's all a UK capability. On the cybersecurity piece, so some 3-4 years ago, we noticed that there were some challenges around identification, so detection of alerts. How could we speed that up? And then obviously being partnered with HPE, we had some really advanced compute capability, and we had some knowledge around data science and so forth. So we started to see, could we use AI and data science to improve the detection of malicious activity that was running across our platform potentially? Because if companies are going to put all their data into our platform, they want to make sure and have trust and confidence that we are keeping it safe. So part of that challenge was, could we develop a capability that would see a monitoring or a surveillance of the activity that's going on the platform? So we started to work with academia, and we secured a Innovate UK grant to develop what would be a world-leading capability around harnessing artificial intelligence for surveillance and for detection of potential malicious activity. That has now been in 4 years in development, working with some of the best data scientists in the UK. And we're super excited to launch that at our own International Cyber Expo in London in September just gone. And then we've just had an opportunity to launch the product in Saudi Arabia at Black Hat MEA. And the response we've had is incredible because it is groundbreaking and it is harnessing some of the best AI capability to really push that cybersecurity requirement and a way to address some of the challenges that exist in cybersecurity right now. And given the exponential growth rate of data, it just gets even harder to manage those kind of threats because there's just more of data to look at.
Yeah, and what I like in what you have done is that you do not pretend to do everything, so you can have a customer who has a Splunk or a Sentinel or whatever, and you can collect very securely, because you showed to me how you are doing that, all these informations, and then aggregate all of that in your AI SOC, AI-powered SOC. And then what I found very interesting is reducing the time and the fatigue of the people, because we're speaking about millions of alerts and so on. So it's very hard to imagine how people can really manage that, because so many alerts, you do mistakes. So what I liked in what you have developed is that not only you are open to the different sources that will bring to you the alerts, and with your AI system, you're able to reduce the time spent by the analyst just to look at these alerts, to see they are valid or not valid alerts, and then to advise. So I believe it's very interesting. Also, that maybe from what we discussed, what I found also interesting is that you may have a business model that is, of course, for customers connecting to your cloud and having that, but why not for customers, different kind of customers, for instance, other service providers across the world. These service providers have built their capability. They are serving a lot of end user customers, and they are facing the same issue. And there is certainly an opportunity for you to look at how you can partner with them in order that your software could be licensed to them, in order they can far quickly detect the alerts and make some business with that also. So I see a lot of opportunities for you on this new line of products that you have been launching. And I see it from different perspectives. I see it from being open, and this was excellent to do that, and the different business models that you could apply, meaning either for end user customers connecting to your platforms, but also, why not, to license this capability to service providers everywhere in the world that want to build their SOC or want to improve their SOC capabilities and reduce the time that they spend on analyzing the case to protect their own customers. This was really interesting to see that. Just to come back to perhaps the last topic, how do you see HP supporting you in this journey? So you have been working with HP for a long period of time.
Yeah.
You're a certified partner of HP. So how do you see your role in all of that?
So, our relationship with HP is fundamental. And the reason why it's fundamental in our future evolution as an organization as well is that what we require from a partner like Hewlett Packard Enterprise is their insatiable investment in new technology that keeps moving forward. So we're able to have the best compute capability, the best storage capability, the best networking capability, because ultimately what we're selling to our clients is we can't compete against Microsoft or AWS as a like for like. We have to look at what are we offering different, and what we provide our clients is high performance and high security, all in one capability. The clients don't have to worry about buying a public cloud environment and then bringing in a raft of consultants and system integrators to then configure that infrastructure everything is all built, ready to roll in METCLOUD. So we need a capability to say to a client, look, if you want the best performance, we can guarantee that because we have Hewlett Packard Enterprise compute and storage. We've got the enterprise class compute, storage, and networking capability. That's something that our clients are often probably fit in a small to medium-sized business community. They would never be able to afford that kind of performance and resilience. So when they come onto our platform, they cannot believe how amazing the experience is when the data is run on our platform, because historically they're used to SMB type technology. That's their budget. That's what they've been used to. All of a sudden they come on our platform. It's like running it on a Ferrari. You know, all of a sudden they've been running it on a lesser capability, but now it's running highly optimized, highly resilient, fully redundant, resilient across multiple data centers. And we tick every box, and that's the difference. And so we need a technology partner like Hewlett Packard Enterprise to allow us to be able to provide that capability to our clients. And then moving forward, the partner, our technology partner relationships, HPE do themselves. So clients like, or customers and manufacturers like NVIDIA will be invaluable to us moving forward because we can bring that capability to our customers. And similarly with all of the other storage solutions and so forth that either HPE partner with or they acquire and build into their capability. And then obviously HPE's research and development is significant. And we benefit from that because our customers ultimately benefit from that. So HPE is probably the most important partner that we have.
I will be a bit pushing the ideas a bit further. HP GreenLake, is it relevant?
It is, because if we want to provide a relative capability that is built based on consumption, because that's what customers have got used to when they're buying services from Microsoft and AWS, they like that experience that they can pay for what they use. We take advantage of that through HPE GreenLake, and we can conversely pass that back to our customers and say, you only have to pay us on what you use. So there's no big CapEx commitment by the client. The client likes that because, you know, they will have other consumption requirements outside of METCLOUD. You know, it could be in Microsoft Azure, it could be in AWS, and we are part of that whole cloud service delivery model. And they like the fact that it's consistent. There's a consumption model. With new innovations that HPE are bringing, with recent acquisitions and so forth, we can provide some capability around improved financial operations, FinOps. We can provide to our client visibility of all of their financial expenditure across all of the clouds. So these are the things that we can bring that they don't get directly with Microsoft or AWS. So when clients are starting to look at data classification and moving a lot of their really important capabilities and requirements into maybe METCLOUD, and then lesser data confidentiality could be run in public cloud environments, you get the visibility of it all and how much it's costing you as an organization, and we can deliver that to them.
Thank you, Ian.
No,
it was
thank
really
you.
an amazing discussion today.
Likewise.
And I love the partnership, and we believe in this service provider ecosystem and partners to really bring this trust and sovereignty on the market. So we are thrilled to partner with you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you.